My first experience was basically when I was living in a town called Baden, Ontario. And I was actually pushed down a flight of stairs at that time where I lived. I opened up my front door. Not a big flight of stairs, but enough that I was pushed back down the stairs. And I just opened up my front door.
That's spooky. Sorry.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
No problem. We're used to that.
What the hell?
What happened?
Oh,
Mic drop.
that's. Sorry, I'm gonna.
You know who that's from?
It could be any walkthrough.
Sorry. We'll just take that one from the top. So
Okay.
What is it that your group does?
We go to locations to find the evidence of supernatural stuff.
Yeah, we're a paranormal team, and we look for ghosts and find I can't talk. Explanations, and yeah, just trying to find proof and validation of life after death, and
Everything in between, right?
yeah.
I just love to find out answers to like what happens after you die.
And for me, I talk to dead people, so it's just like giving them their voice back. And I've always wanted to be a paranormal investigator since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a paranormal investigator.
You lived in a haunted house for 10 years?
Yes.
Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
You kind of got used to it. We just had stuff like, the bed shaking, cupboard doors opening, shower doors go on, butterfly out of the fridge. If we were sitting in the room all together with 4 girls, we'd be sitting on the bed and a stuffed animal would go flying across, but then my sister would be like, why'd you throw that at me? I'm like, think about this. We're sitting right here. It came from over there. So we just did. Like, we just grew up around it, and it never scared me. Ever. So my younger sister, yes, but me, no. So ever since then, it was like, there's more to this. There's more stories. We had a psychic say that there was a woman way back in the 1800s that died on our property. She was pregnant. She was a maid for an old home, got lost in a storm, and that's why you hear. And we did. Heard her more in the wintertime. And because she came into the house because it was warmer. So, and we would hear footsteps all the time. So, and from then it was like, I'm hooked, and I could hear my name called. So that's hence why I started looking into this. And lo and behold, I'm very grateful. It's a journey.
So I started the team. I met somebody in my college program who was outed as a psychic. We started talking, found out we had a lot in common. She lived down the street from me at the time. She had always wanted to go ghost hunting, but never had the opportunity to. And then, of course, there was me who was like, oh, I love ghosts. So we got together, and then this was born. So when we started, our main goal was to make history interesting, bring tourism back to these places that we were investigating, because it was at a time where everything was low, people weren't interested in local culture, local history. So we wanted to make it that spooky, interesting draw to get people to come back in, and perhaps we might have an experience or be able to capture something at the same time.
I have a tendency for saying, all right. That's one of my...
Well, sorry, so does Quentin Tarantino.
So, I'm actually a spiritual medium. I deal with more or less the spirits that have actually passed on, or even though the ones that are ready to pass on, I usually deal with people like that.
How long have you been into, well, what you do?
Yeah, for myself though, I've been actually active ever since the age of 6. I used to go to church right when I had my very first encounter. I turned around to the pastors and I said to them at the time, well, what's really in between heaven and the other side? None of them got in contact back with me with a full legit answer. So I started wondering more of what actually happened. Now, my very first encounter, though, is we were living in the south end of Kitchener, out by the 401. It is an historic area. At the age of 6, I had 2 spirits rise from the center of the floor It was a bungalow house at the time. And what had happened, though, is they stood in front of my doorway wearing bike helmets. I could not hear them, but I could literally see what type of clothing that they were wearing. Type of clothing that they were wearing, though, was actually clothing from the 60s. Now, the house was not built until 78. And yeah, so 60s to 78, something could have happened within the area. I've actually had more encounters much more later in life.
I love it.
Yeah, I do too. I think for me, I grew up with a strong sense of the supernatural and the paranormal. My grandmother actually used to tell me a lot of stories about paranormal events, and one of the first ones I can remember was related back to Ed and Lorraine Warren, where somebody they were working with videoed a child's toy moving across a floor over a period of, I think it was like 12 hours. And it took that long to travel, but that was one of the first ones. And she actually was born in England, so she was we called her superstitious. But it was certain things that happened in her life and in mine that kind of led me to want to get into this a bit more, to find out what it meant and what was going on. And it just kept evolving as an interest of mine until I found a team to join and start doing it, kind of hardcore.
Full-time
yeah,
now.
full time, yeah.
Yeah, we do it full time.
Your turn.
Your turn.
Oh, pick me. So I have always been interested in paranormal. I watched all the shows and saw all that, but I was always kind of on the fence. Like, is it real? Is it not real? I'd love to go do this stuff and kind of see for myself, so I'd have the actual proof. So I'd actually emailed, which I'm assuming is now Rachel, and asked if they were going to be recruiting. And she had said, well, shortly. And then it was posted on their website, so I wrote in and whatever. And Rachel called me, and it was pretty much, welcome to the team.
I'm in it through Billy, who does it with his sister.
Yeah, Lisa is actually my sister, so she kind of recruited me to the team.
This is something I've always wanted to do, so it was easy enough for me to say yes to, and I think deep down he really wanted to do it too.
I lived in a town called Baden, Ontario at the time, and I had a old apartment that used to be an old cafe at the time, so they changed it into an apartment, and that's where I was living. So at the time they had a short flight of stairs that went up to the main door, and when I opened the door, I sensed this energy right in front of me. It was very strong, very apparent, and all of a sudden this energy just rushed towards me. I could sense it right away. It had a sense of get out, is what it felt like. It was pushing me out. And this energy rushed towards me. I stepped back down the stairs. I didn't fall over, but it pushed me back down the staircase. I sensed it go past me, up into the air, and dissipate. So I sensed the energy from that far, from inside to pushing me backwards, going past me, up into the air, and dissipating. And that was my very first experience with the paranormal. A lot went through my mind at the time. I thought, well, obviously, number one, what was that? I didn't know. And at the time, I didn't have a lot of activity happening in the house, so not like things were always happening there. So this was just a random energy I experienced. So I didn't know how to handle it at that time. So I wanted to learn more about the paranormal then. That's what really drew me into being a paranormal investigator. Being a host on the show, I get to find out what people drew them into being a paranormal investigator or got them into that field. And that is usually what happened. It's one incident that happens to them personally that draws them in. So I've always been into it. I've always been into the creepier stuff. So I watched X-Files, all that kind of stuff when I was growing up. So I was used to those types of shows that promoted paranormal activity or the weird stuff. So it was something I was into, but never thought I would get into it full time. You know what I mean? I never thought I would be an investigator of the paranormal myself until I had that happen. A paranormal activity, when it happens to you as a personal experience, it sticks with you. It really attaches to your soul and doesn't let go. Like it's there forever. If you have something happen to you that's dramatic, that stays with you. Like say you've been involved in an accident or something, that sticks with you for the rest of your life. So this is almost the same thing. When you have something dramatic happen to you that you can't explain, that stays with you for sure.
I actually just say to people whenever we start speaking, it's like, hey, just let you know, I do communicate with the spirits actually that are around you. I can literally see them, but not with visual. I see them with my third eye. Now that's dealing with the chakras, but seeing the spirits, though, they can actually present themselves in different ways to me. I can actually sense them, like feeling like whenever you go into a cold place, so all of a sudden you get the cold chills. But that's right when they're right around. It comes again though, second nature to me. I actually have had people say, "Well, does it scare you?" And I was like, "No." Because of so much training I actually have, and it falls back in family genes. So I was raised actually up to basically accept all, love all, especially being a son actually of associate pastor. My father has actually had encounters himself, and he says, "Well, you have to accept it."
You say you talk to dead people. Is that a family trait? Or?
I think it is, because I've had it my whole life. I did take classes to help me to differentiate the messages and stuff, but I feel like my mom has a little bit, even my dad, and like I feel like it's kind of on both sides. I also say, like, technically everybody has the same abilities as me, only I'm just more in tune with them. That's it. It can come in many different ways. I can see, feel, hear, taste, touch, smell, and know that messages from them. So
what's it like seeing her do that?
It's pretty crazy at times. Like, I'll come into her house because we do have a podcast as well, and I'll sit down and she'll be like, "So what's the deal with water?" And I'm like, I just did like one of those Facebook quizzes of whereabouts you want to live, by the creek, by the ocean, by the whatever. And I'm like, well, I just did that. And she's like, okay. So it's just kind of weird. She just comes up with random stuff, and then it's just like, oh. She's like, did you take your vitamins today? Because they told me no.
Yeah, I call her out too. And I call, like, my spirit guides or anybody that I'm talking to, I call them collectively a they. Just because. And so when I say they, it means that somebody on the other side or something or whatever.
I think our strengths and weaknesses work great off of each other, because Chris is so much more into the mediumship side of things. He does oracle card readings and that kind of thing. And I'm really more of the technical side of things, where I'm developing my skills in the paranormal as well still. So I'm more in the learning stage still, where he is more advanced. And I learn off of him as well. So I try to grow my abilities, and he teaches me how to do that. And I bring in the technical side to our team as well, working with the computers and the podcast and stuff like that. So
we're sort of like yin yang sign. Trevor's an introvert, I'm an extrovert, and I love talking with people. But from our TV show though that we held back in 2013, I was actually able to pull Trevor actually out of being more of an introvert.
Yeah, that's where I really grew out more. I really was able to grow myself. Not only personally, but dealing with people and spirit as well. So I got to learn a lot about spiritual work and actually talking with people too more. So that really brought me out a lot more.
I have a lot of stories. Again, 20 years of experience in, doing this. You get a lot. So one of the big stories that I like to share is we investigated Lang Pioneer Village, which is in Keene, Ontario, so by Peterborough. It was, what did it say, 2014? Something like that. So we were investigating that location, and we had two names come through our equipment, which was a Nick and a Mike. Didn't think anything of it at the time. So fast forward, a few days, now we're going into weeks and months, and Allison, who's on our team, and myself worked at an escape room business, which was in a authentically haunted home. So nobody could work there except for us, because it didn't bother us. So we would always take our equipment there. And we kept getting the names Nick and Mike, Nick and Mike. So we're like, who are these Nick and Mike characters? We went to a psychic that we knew and asked her, who's Nick and Mike? Like, can you give us some insight on this? And she said, okay, well, you picked them up from a location that you had just recently investigated. And, Nick really likes you, Rachel, and Mike really likes you, Allison, but they're connected, and, now they're with you. So they say they were soldiers, and they had served in the First World War together. On we were like, okay, so of course, being the researcher that I am, I can find anybody in 15 minutes, ask this one. But being the researcher that I am, I started looking, and then we used our ghost box to ask questions like, Nick, what's your last name? And we got Walsh. Like, Mike, where are you from? Indian River, which is Peterborough. So with all that little tidbits of information, I was able to find who they were in real life. So I got all their attestation papers and everything, and we went back to our psychic friend, and I was like, is this who they are? Like, please tell me, like, are they giving confirmation? She's like, oh yes. She's like, you found them. She's like, they're laughing because you found them. But they're connected to you, Rachel, some way. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, they're connected to you through the war. And I was like, huh? So I was like, but the only person in my family that I know of that was serving was my grandfather, my great-grandfather, but he never made it back. He died on the beach. And that was World War II. So that can't be that. She's like, nope. They say they're connected to you. Oh, okay. Of course, again, being the researcher, I had to go digging. And so I do have another relative who was served in the First World War. And my grandmother's father, so my great-grandfather, he died when she was 6 months old. So I would never have known who he was or anything. I didn't even know he served. And I found out at that point that he served in the exact same battalion at the exact same time as Nick and Mike. So that for me is the big story. I was like, this is a connection. Like, this stuff is real. Like, you can't just pull that out of a hat.
It was up in Alliston, and it was
Yes.
it was a museum, and there's a log cabin on
Yes.
the site, and there was a barn, and the barn we were the first team to be allowed to investigate it, but we weren't allowed to share live.
Yeah.
But while we were doing the Estes method session, which is a blindfold,
Which is my favorite session.
Yeah, you've got a blindfold,
Yes.
headphones on, and
I'm all
you're
about
hearing
voices.
is the spirit box, and whoever's has it on is calling out what they're hearing. And one of our other members came in the door, and the lady that was running the place was standing at the door. The other member came in, and just as she came in, and the spirit that was talking was telling us to leave, and was getting quite profane about it too. And all of a sudden, this light, you heard it like somebody aggressively clicked it up, and the whole place lit up.
Yes.
And nobody was near it. There's no way that just brushing past it would have turned it on. It was like you had to really push it up, and the lights came on, and that was our cue to
move,
leave,
move, get out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and definitely he was a man because
Yes.
Lisa knew that from the very beginning.
Yeah.
She felt a man
Yeah, and he
in
was,
the very back of the barn.
He was not happy
And he
about
was
us
not
in
happy.
there. He did not want us there.
No, hated us.
Yeah.
You know where I'm gonna go.
Yep.
So there is a place that we cannot name for privacy issues. We had been the first people to go investigate this place. And like I said earlier, I was kind of on the fence about whether I believed, whether I was kind of skeptic, kind of wanted to know. It was probably the first time that I ever kind of went, yeah, you know what? I am totally over the fence now, like a believer. I was standing outside this house, and the door was like kind of cracked open. And we haven't even get into the house yet. Like, we're all standing outside. And I hear a piano playing in the house. Well, this place is empty. Like, there's nobody in there. So I'm like, guys, like, the piano's playing. Well, little did I know that there had been reports that a piano plays by itself in the house. So they kind of came over, we heard the piano, and I'm like, wow. So we go in the house, and I'm walking around from room to room or whatever, and I see this one room, and I'm kind of like, ew. Because it was very dark, I kind of thought that I saw something in the back of the room, but I'm like, okay, well, whatever, it's just dark. I'm being ridiculous. Well, I got like one step into the room, and in my ear, I distinctly heard, I couldn't understand what it was saying, but it was like 3 full sentences. And I kind of took a step back, and Ryan, one of our other investigators, was standing there with a camera. And he's like, are you okay? You're like white. And I'm like, I swear to God, something just whispered in my ear. So you turn around the corner, took 5 pictures in a row. The first 2 showed bright colors all across it in a pitch black room. The third one was a malfunction, was completely black, and the last 2 were completely normal pictures of the room. So I was kind of like, yeah, and we ended up leaving a recorder in that room for, I would say, 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in the 4 hours, there were so many EVPs caught. It was ridiculous. Saying my name, saying Rachel's name, making comments. We were upstairs. You could hear all of us upstairs, and we'd ask questions upstairs, and they would answer on the corner in the downstairs room. And this house is massive, like, and that was kind of my turning point where I'm like, okay, yeah, we got to come back here at some point. But yeah, that was my move from skeptic to, yeah, this stuff is absolutely real.